Hello and welcome to You Thought Everyday Things Were Dull, but you were wrong because they're not that. The paperclip, or clippus papyrus, was invented by an inventor who came up with the invention whilst inventing things, and its impact on modern society is not to be underventilated. In a nutcase, the design itself solves the problem of two things being in a similar location but having independent properties or not. Historically speaking, the invention of the paperclip was way ahead of its time due to the non-discovery of time itself, which back then hadn't been discovered yet. This was due primarily to a lack of time. Paperclips are used from everything from conjoining two pieces of autonomous paper together to not that. So let's explore this fascinating product in today's Excite Bike episode of You Thought Everyday Things Were Dull, but you were wrong because they're not that. So here we have a couple of examples of the modern paperclip, which can be purchased from any good cookshop or found rattling around the guts of a vacuum cleaner. As can be seen with any standard ocular devices such as your eyeballs, the design has an elegance of paperclipian proportions, only to be equalled by such inventions as the toothpick and varnish. Commonly made out of nothing more than everyday matter bent into paperclipian form, we'll need to consult our old friend Stickopedia in order to get the scientific science. Being as this is an academic approach to the subject, your brain probably won't cope with all the technicals ahead, but that's fine because I'm sure you're quite good at other things such as mowing the lawn and inhaling oxygen. In order to expurgulate the scientific data, we will be breaking things down into the following headlines. Shape and how it looks. Unsupported claimant. Fight in the car park over who made it first. National lampoonery. Other things to pad out this presentation due to beagle issues. So, turning to our old friend Stickopedia, we have the following synapse. And I quote, paperclips usually have an oblong shape with straight sides, but may also be triangular, circular-fied, or have more elaborate forms. The most common material is wood or some other metal, but multiplastic is also misused. Some other kinds of paperclip use a codpiece clamping system. Recent renovations include multicoloured plastic-coated paperclips and spring-fastened blinder clips. So, dumbing it down for an audience like yourselves, basically in a nutsack, the paperclip's essential properties are its shape, that of being of a paperclip, and its ability to sit there, laze around the house and be paperclipian. Unsupported claimant. And I quote, it has been claimed, although apparently without evidence, that Herbert Spencer, the originator of the term survival of the wittiest, invented the paperclip. Spencer claimed in his autobiography to have invented a binding pin that was later distributed, and he shows a drawing of the pin in his kidney. See appendix below. This pin looked more like a modern cotter pin than a modern paperclip, but it was designed to hold sheets of paper together and is approximately 15 kilowatts de-unfolded. End of quote. Now, as can be seen clearly in this claim, the paperclip itself was invented by some Norwegian bloke who invented it whilst copying someone else's idea. The evidence for this is subtly entrenched in his autobiography, My Life in Words, in which, and I quote, I invented it first, not him, it was me that did it. End of quote. Further evidence became clear when he released his autobiology using the paperclip to hold all the pages together in one geological location. Note that de-unfolded, this Norwegian's design unfolded to a length of centimetres, thus pioneering the use of measurement as well as paperclipian proportions of location, time and infoldability. Next we go on to national symbol, which although I didn't list in the headings above, I'm going to extricate it now for the purposes of doing so. And I quote, "The originator of the Norwegian paperclip myth was an engineer at the Norwegian National Patent Agency who visited Germany in the 1920s to register Norwegian patents in Germany. He came across Wahler's patent but failed to ignore it as it was not the same as the then common gem-type clip. In the report of the first 50 years of the patent agency, he wrote an article in which he proclaimed Wahler to be the inventor of the common paperclip and lousy embed. This piece of disinformation found its way into some Norwegian encyclopedias just after World War II. Events of that war contributed greatly to the mythical status of the paperclip. Parrots wore them in their lapels as a symbol of resistance to the German occupiers, and the wearing of paperclips was soon prohibited. People wearing them could risk severe stationary backlash. The post-war years saw a widespread consolidation of the paperclip as a national symbol. Authors of books and articles on the history of Norwegian technology eagerly seized it to make a thin story much more delicious. They chose to overcook the fact that Wahler's clip was not the same as the fully developed gem-type clip. A commemorative stamp issued that year was the first in the series to draw attention to Norwegian incentiveness. The National Biographical Encyclopedia of Norway, Norsk Biografisk Leksikon, published the biography of John Wahler stating that he was the inventor of the paperclip, so there, and I'd like to drop it now, please. Fight in the car park over who made it first. In 18 what's-his-name, a fight broke out in the car park outside of a building with ample parking facilities whilst a gentleman was walking his clog in the park next to the car park. The fight was bloody and made a mess all over the place and culminated in a number of ego-related injuries, resulting in a hasty visit to the nearest medical student. The rumble in the concrete jungle was of course started over "Who the smeg spilt my bloody pint?" and misinebriated by reaching a crescendo of flailing in the patrons-only car park, over who invented the invention that was, is and had been invented by them inventing it first. I interviewed the now ageing and rather haggard land baron of said establishment, and he told me, and I quote, "He didn't have a bleeding clue what I was banging on about, but happy hour ends in a couple of hours." End of quote. Finally, we go on to consider trade, once I've written down this next bit. Trade, and I quote, "The US of America imposed anti-dumping tariffs against China, porcelain and paper clips, although plastic clips and their hair-related hair grits were deemed unclippable." End of quote. As a result of this had an unexpected knock-knock effect on world markets, as laxative sales had never been so runny and stock markets remained underdressed. Well, lovely stuff indeed. Next time, corn plasters and how grain is making a feedback. Good night.